Okay, so I am Mithilesh, and I've been in this particular industry from past 14 years now, and I have done mostly I've been into almost all the sides of cybersecurity, right? Towards the offensive security, towards the defensive security, right? So I started my career with network, then moved on to the network security. So back then, before 10 years, right? So we didn't had anything called as cybersecurity in full-fledged, right? So it was just a concept, and most of them were taken care by just implementing some of the network security stuff, right? For example, the firewalls, the web proxies, the application proxies, right? So these were all about the cybersecurity back then. Then slowly, when we experienced, a lot of attacks, we saw that okay, there are quite a different way, or the entry vectors are quietly, uh, it's now just not restricted towards just applying the firewall rule, but rather we will have to think beyond, what we can apply in the firewall rule and how we can block the viruses when it actually enters into the organization, laptops, computers, or desktops, right? So that's when, the concept of the cybersecurity came into the picture, where, we started looking into various areas. But anyways, that was all about me, right? So I am currently working in one of the MNC, and yeah, I've been managing the team there, right? Okay, so learning objectives, why ethical hacking is necessary, right? So this particular course is completely designed for ethical hackers, and for them who doesn't even know what IT is, right? So we have custom created the course where we are going to teach about all the basics about, what do you mean by IT, what do you mean by let's say the operating systems, right? How many types of operating system do we have? And when I say Windows, then what are the basics about the Windows? When I say Linux, then what are the basics about the Linux, right? What commands you should be using it? Um, and then also we'll be learning something about the network, right? Because that is the core. If you understand network, then you understand, most of the any new technology coming into the picture does not matter for us. What matters is how the data flows, right? And for that understanding, you will have to understand what network is. Right. So this particular demo, we are going to cover, why ethical hacking is necessary, types of hackers, essential technologies, terminologies, and then elements of information security, the entry vectors, right, phases of hacking, phishing, and a little bit practical on the phishing side as well, just to show you that, how easy it is to fool the user and then steal their credentials, right? And some prerequisites, what you need to bring before you joining the course, and benefit of ethical hacking. Yeah, so why ethical hacking is necessary, right? So it is, you can think of the industries are spending a lot of money into the, defense side, right? So when I say defense side, it is all about, protecting the assets. Now, who's going to challenge them, right? So we know that, okay, let's say if I implement an antivirus, right? So the antivirus vendor will say that, okay, we are covering most of the 0-day attacks, right, or 0-day vulnerabilities. Um, so, uh, but what if your organization engineer has done a misconfiguration, right? So from the vendor side, that particular virus was covered, right? It should have been detected and blocked, but your engineer, right? So he has misconfigured it. For that reason, the virus was not being detected by the antivirus, right? This is just an example. So who is going to basically do the checks, or who is going to challenge the defense team saying that no, this is something you have done misconfigured, right? So this is something, this particular virus, you should have already been detected and blocked it, right? So that's where the ethical hackers comes into the picture, right? So if you see the job market for the ethical hackers, or the jobs that requires this particular ethical hacking skills, uh, almost all the the defense side, wherever you land in, whether it is information security analyst, computer forensic analyst, right? So any defense side or the offensive side, right? So this course is actually considered as basics of towards the cybersecurity, right? So why this particular course is really the basics? The reason is in this particular course, you're going to learn about the mindset of hackers, right? So if you want to protect your asset, you should understand how the hackers think, right? And this particular course basically take you through that mindset. Okay, so common job roles, for CH, once you do this particular course, you can either land into, so most of them, what you see right here, so it is all about defense side, right? So in the defense, let's say for an example, it's a large organization, and in that particular large organization, you have, um, let's say 100 cybersecurity engineers, right? So out of that 100, you will see for defense side, it will be almost around 80 to 90 people, right, working towards protecting the assets, and 10 people will be basically into challenging the defense team, as well as looking for a new vulnerability within your organization, right? But truly speaking, the once you complete this course, you should actually land into this job, right? But you don't have any limitation into landing into the defense side as well, right? Since, as I said, CH is all about the mindset of how the hacker thinks, right? And you can easily uh, get a job into the defense side as well, right? Yes, so the common job roles are, you can work as SOC analyst, SOC security analyst. So what is SOC? SOC is all about, we do have a monitoring tool, right? So, and that particular monitoring tool name is SIM. And all the logs that an organization is capturing, they are actually sending into the SIM, right? And SIM is kind of, you can say that it's the common place where I can look at organization logs. And the SOC analysts are responsible to analyze those logs and create some alerts, right? Obviously, you cannot look into, let's say, 10 GB of logs every day, right? It is humanly impossible. So you are going to understand, okay, what type of log you might consider that, okay, these are the risky logs, and let me create an alert for this so that I can further go and investigate whether the alert that I have received is a true positive or false positive, right? So that part is being done by the SOC analyst, right? Security analyst is basically creating some rules for that particular SIM tool. Um, yeah, and so on and so forth, right? I don't want to go individually for what everybody does, but ultimate uh, thing that you should be thinking about here is CH will help you even if you land into any other job, right? For example, SOC analyst, security analyst, you can still perform well there, since now you know how the hackers think, and what all tools the hackers might use to come and attack your organization, right? So you're basically prepared here. Okay, and you can also see that in the era of AI, right? So the more deeper uh, the AI is implemented, right? So the more vulnerabilities we are going to find it out, right? So the more security engineers are required to fix those vulnerabilities, right? Because what is AI? AI, let's say I need a code, right? My organization is developing a website or some web application, so I need a code. And if somebody is going to the AI and asking the code, right? So the code probably would be the same code that has been given out to everybody, right? And what if everybody is copying the same code and implementing in their organization, right? So if the hack, obviously whenever the hacker is also asking, hacker will also get the same code, right? So that's where the hacker will able to find out the flaw inside that particular code, and he will be able to understand, okay, or probably create a tool to exploit those vulnerabilities and hack inside the organization, right? So s- until today, the problem was uh, the codes that the human were designing it, right? It was all different, right? But when you go and ask the AI, it is going to give you the same code. So what if, let's say 100 organization has implemented the same code, right? So now for the hacker, it becomes easier um, uh, for the hacker to understand that, okay, this is the code, and now whoever has implemented this code, I can simply go and hack those 100 organizations, right? So, but earlier it was a little difficult because every code was different. So hacking around, probably even if the hacker know that, okay, this is how this application works, probably it is only that one application, which he was able to crack the code, right? But now it is little different, right? So now it is like, uh, more people are using the same code, so it becomes more vulnerable. So that's where you will see that, okay, so the spending on the cybersecurity has increased. So if I take you 10 years back, right? So 10 years back, the largest team in the infrastructure was Windows team, right? So those who were managing the Windows server. Why? Because for every server, we used to have individual uh, hardware, right? So now that is being virtualized, right? So we have one hardware. Inside that one hardware, I can actually fit hundreds of servers, right? So that's where, the earlier Windows team was the largest team. Then slowly, now you just require one or two people to handle thousands of servers, right? You don't need so many people. Why? Because from the physical perspective, it's just one hardware, and that one hardware, I can virtually divide it to 100, and then I can have 100 servers there, right? So similarly, 10 years back, there was no concept of cybersecurity, right? So, but now when every company is realizing, saying that, okay, either the companies are realizing it or the governments are enforcing it, right, through the laws, right? So you will see that most of the organization, even the manufacturing industries who were not serious about the security, right? So they have also started building security team in their organization, right? And that's where you can see this is the projection, right? How much spending, uh, you know, it's been forecasted, right, in cybersecurity for 2024, right? And this is the overall graph where you can see that, okay, there are three different companies, Gartner, IDC, and Statista. So they have predicted, saying that, okay, so the increase in spending on cybersecurity. So that's where you will see that, slowly I'm seeing this trend where all other teams are small, but the cybersecurity team is quite large, right? So they are and what any type of automation you do, it doesn't matter, right? You still need to have some human eyes to look at those issues. So that's where, I also see that in all of these are cybersecurity fields, right? So in every field, I do see that, more and more people are hired. And it is all because of, worldwide IT spending is again, it's been projected to 5.26 trillion, right? So the more IT spending the world does, the more cybersecurity engineer you require. Okay, and hiring the cybersecurity talents are really difficult, not only in US, throughout the worldwide, right? So you don't get the right resource for cybersecurity, right? Since it is very difficult, so people who does any type of courses, right? So they are you know kind of, we will treat them as, okay, so this candidate know what cybersecurity is, and then, we might be hiring that candidate. Okay, so there is a website which will give you how much of job openings for cybersecurity you have it currently in US market, right? So the website name is CyberSeek. So you guys also can log into this particular website and then look at, let me bring in that particular website, and then you can look at, where do you have more job openings? Yeah, here you go. If I go to the heat map, that's where it will say that, okay, so these many job roles are, these many jobs are open, but they are not unable to fill these jobs. Okay, so all in all, what I wanted to say is that cybersecurity has a good demand, and I do also do see that if uh, 2 years back, if the team size was 80, now that has been increased to 20 more. So that is nothing but 100, and we are still increasing the team, right? The reason is we do see a lot of new technologies coming in, and obviously everybody will not have uh, you know understanding, or they don't have skills to cover everything that you have it in the IT, right? And that is where we will have to hire someone who understand that particular technology, right? And then that's how the team is also increasing. Okay, so now let's just understand about types of hackers. So we do have white hat hacker, gray hat, black, blue, green, and red. So white hat hackers are basically the company hired employees. Okay, so they are the ethical hackers, right? So they are not doing anything bad, right? So they are the good people, right? Who are basically, there is a thin line between hacking and ethical hacking, right? So that thin line is when you hack into the organization. So ethical hackers or white hat hackers will take the prior approvals, right, before even scanning the environment, right? So basically, you will stick to the scope that has been defined by the management, right? But whereas the gray hat or black hat hackers, right, so they are the actual hackers, right? So they don't take any prior approvals. So basically, both of them are doing the same thing, right? You guys are we all are hacking into the organization, right? But there is a slight difference. Ethical hackers, they work within the scope. They do take the prior approvals, and these hackers, they don't take any prior approvals. Basically, they're coming in. They're coming in to basically either collect some of the information from your organization, or to impact your organization, right? But the ethical hackers will go up to a point where we know that after this it is all about impacting your organization. For example, right, if I have a server, right, I know that if I get admin access of the server, right, so then it is all about I can shut down the server. I can create a backdoor entry to the server, right? Because I have admin access, I can implement any code whatever I want, right? What the white hat hacker will do is, so they will go until a level where they get the admin access, right? So they are not going to basically go and deploy any viruses on this particular server, but the hackers will actually go and deploy the virus, right? And their intention is to create a backdoor entry so that any data they want to take it out, they have full free hand to whenever they want to log in, they should be able to log in, right? It's basically impacting the organization. Right? And you can see there is no much difference between all these hackers, right? So gray, black, blue, green, and red. It's all about these are the bad guys, okay, barging inside your organization to steal some of your information out, or it might be for money, or it might be for fame. Some of the essential terminologies, right, that you should know when you enter into the cybersecurity, right? Something like hack value, zero-day attack, vulnerability, right? So what is hack value? Hack value is basically how much money you're going to get when you hack so and so system or so and so organization. Now, zero-day attack is something that these cybersecurity companies have not yet detected this particular vulnerability yet, right? And today itself they have detected it, but it does not mean that the vulnerability was designed today. It might be present from pretty long time. It's just that some security analyst understood that, okay, this is a new technique of hacking inside your organization, and then they have created some rules to not allow those type of activities, right? So that will be called as zero-day attack, right? Whenever you learn about a new vulnerability, then they call it as zero-day attack. And what do you mean by vulnerability then? Vulnerability is all about the weak point or loophole. right? Either in your operating system itself or probably inside in your um, the application that you design it or the application that you have installed at the third party applications, right? So it does not matter. The vulnerability is all about the weak point or loophole, okay, which can cause uh, and because of the vulnerability, probably there are possibilities of exploiting that system as well. And exploit is all about, you're taking the advantage of the vulnerabilities, right? So you know that this is the loophole, and now let's take the advantage, right? For example, in your operating system, let's say you have turned on a service, right? Um, so one of the vulnerability that I can think of is print spooler, right? So what that vulnerability was, so in every Windows operating system, we have a service called as print spooler, right? Um, so what is that service responsible for? So whenever we say print, right? So that is the service when it basically turns on and then it sends the information or data to the printer to print it, right? So that particular service had a vulnerability, and that service is there from pretty long time, right? So it's just that the cybersecurity analysts have detected it very recently, so that they called it as zero-day attack. Okay, so what that service when you exploit that service, right? So it was basically giving you the system privilege access, right? Basically, it was possible for a hacker to elevate their access. First of all, access your system as well as elevate access as a system administrator. Right? So it's a very good read through, right? So if search for Prince Pooler and read through how that attack happened. Okay, and some of them are payload and bots. Payload is all about, let's say you have downloaded a software, but you did not download it from the legitimate website, right? Rather, you downloaded it from some other website. So that software, when you install it, it might look like, okay, let's say Adobe Reader, right? And you did not download it from the adobe.com. You downloaded it from somewhere else. So when you install it, it will look like, okay, it is performing or working as how the Adobe Reader should work. But there might be a payload, okay? It is nothing but a small virus, okay? So which will be implemented whenever you are running that software, and that payload might be giving a backdoor entry to the hacker, right? And that payload is basically a virus, right? So it can be anything, right? Whatever the intention of that hacker is, and most of the cases it is always the backdoor entry, right? So there is no point in implementing a virus in your system, and in most of the cases the hacker needs to steal something out of your system, right? So even if hacker is installing a virus in your system, and if he's not able to steal that data, what's the point of installing it, right? So all the payloads you will see, all the virus you will see, there will be a backdoor entry, okay, in most of the cases. In some of the cases where the hacker is thinking about impacting your organization, he does not care about the data, he just wants to impact your organization. So that's where you will see they will not have any backdoor entry. They will simply, those viruses will simply come in and then impact your systems, right? So where you cannot log into the system, or probably delete some of the files or encrypt your system, right? So that's where you would have heard the term um, WannaCry, right? So which is basically a so what that virus is, it will come to your system, it will impact, and then it will lock all your files, right? When I say lock, it is nothing but it is implementing some type of encryption, where to decrypt that you need a key, right? And the hacker will simply say that, okay, you pay me this money, only then I'll give you the decryption key so that you can decrypt and then see your files, right? So um, this type of hacking is called as ransomware, right? So there they don't need a backdoor entry, but in most of the cases, the hacker might need a backdoor entry where he can, either your system is sending the information out to the hacker, or it has created a backdoor entry where a hacker can actually come and log into your system anytime whenever they need. And this is CIA is basically a core principle of cybersecurity, right? So you must understand what you're protecting and why you're protecting, right? So the all other stuff, this and this, what you see, right? You can ignore it as of now. We will simply learn about CIA. What is C? C stands for confidentiality, right? And in layman term, when I say confidentiality, is all about who can see the data, right? And what type of controls can you implement? You can implement encryption, authentication, and access control, right? And the risk of not implementing the confidentiality is loss of privacy, unauthorized access to information, and identity theft, right? So for example, when I say confidentiality, right, let's take an example and let me show you some practicals in here. Let's say this is the file that I can see, right? So what if the hacker actually has hacked into my system, and then this is the file where I'm saving all the uh, for example, I'm storing all the passwords, right? So it simply means that that hacker can also steal this file and then see all the passwords if it is in this plain text format, right? Now I want to ensure that, okay, only the authorized person should be able to see this plain text, right? Then what do I do? I will have to encrypt this, right? One of the control set that we saw here, right? It was encryption, right? I want to encrypt this particular file. So I'm going to use any of the encryption tool, which is available either in the open source or if I'm working for an organization. So I will have some enterprise tools. So here I'm going to use 7-zip. And then here is the option, right? So they say that, okay, this is the encryption technique I'm going to use if you want to encrypt this particular file, right? And this is the 7-zip. .7-zip is the format that you're going to save this file in, right? So let me just give a password here, right? So when you encrypt, this is the file. Now you will have to store it in your system, and then you will have to delete this file, right? Because this is the plain text file. We don't want to keep this, right? Let me delete this. Now this is the file that is there in your system. So even if the hacker comes in and then uh, try to access this file, right, you will see that this is how it is going to look like. Yeah, so it does not make any sense. Why? Because this plain text was now converted to the ciphertext. Okay, and this is how the ciphertext looks like. And you will not be able to reverse engineer this particular encryption because this is one of the strongest encryption that I have used to encrypt it, right? So that is AES and 256 bits, right? Which the military organizations are also using it, right? So the only way to reverse engineer is if you know the password, right? So to whom am I going to share this particular password, right? So there are two ways, right? Either this system is a shared system. So I'm sharing with multiple users. So those users should know the password to see what is inside this. Or let's say I'm sharing this file to somebody else, right? Either it can be through any sharing media or I can send it through the email as well. And we know that, the email, right? I'm sharing from one system to another system, right? And the data is actually traveling through internet, and internet is untrusted zone, right? I don't trust this internet. So whenever the data travels from internet, right, I do not know, is there anyone who is actually looking into my data? Is there a man in the middle attack, right? So if they are looking into my data, these chances are, if the file I'm sending it in a plain text format, I have attached it, but it's a plain text format. So the hacker will also receive the same file, okay, and he will be able to see, okay, what is there inside the file. But if I'm encrypting it and sending it in the attachment, then there is no way that even if the hacker receives that file, right, he will not be able to see what is the content inside this particular file. Okay, so that is what encryption does, and that is one of the control set that you can implement for confidentiality, right? Who can see the data? The other control sets are authentication and access control. right? So what is authentication? Authentication is about, let's say, this particular file, right? Now I have it in the website, in a web server, right? And that particular web server, let's say, there are multiple users, and let's say this is a payroll site, right? And obviously I cannot share everybody's payroll file to everyone, right? I will have to ensure that if you are the user, you can only see your data, right? So in that particular case, I will have to ensure that, okay, you can authenticate to this particular uh, server, and then there is something called as AAA, okay, authentication, authorization, and accounting. So authentication is all about the server know who you are. Authorization is all about, okay, I know who you are, and I will only give you certain access. For example, I will only give you access to this particular file, right? I'll not give you, there might be some other files, but I'll not give you access to those files, right? Because you are only authorized to view this file. Accounting is all about, who is doing what, right? It will start logging those details, right? For example, you logged in, at what time did you log in, and what were you trying to access, right? So all of those details will be accounted or logged. Okay, so that was about the uh, authentication/authorization. The last part is the access control, right? So when I say access control, so it is all about, let's say, uh, I can access control is from the network perspective, right? So in the network, I can say, okay, if you are so and so user, okay, let's take this example. Let's say that you can only access this website, okay, if you are coming in from the company provided laptop, right? So in somewhere in here, I have said that, okay, if I will identify whether you are coming from the company provided laptop or not, only then I'll give you the access. Does not matter. See, it's the same employee who is going to authenticate, right? So you know the username and password details for your company. So, but here I'm putting one more control saying that, okay, you can only access if you're coming in from the company provided laptop. If you are coming in from your personal laptop, right? So I will not give you access, right? So that is what access control is. Okay, so this is about the confidentiality, and this is the core principle of cybersecurity. You must remember that if you have been hired, or if somebody is asking, taking your interview, then this is one of the uh, guaranteed question that you will hear it from the interviewer, right? So what is the core principle of cybersecurity? That's where you'll have to explain CIA. And the next one is integrity, right? So what is integrity? Integrity is all about, let's say this is the file that I have it, right? Now, uh, let's take the same scenario. I am sending a file to this guy, okay, and this guy has received this particular file. And how does he know that the file that I have sent, it is the same file that I was actually sending it, right? And it was not modified in between, right? So we know that it is going through the internet, and internet might have man in the middle at somebody who's monitoring our logs or monitoring our traffic flow. Okay, so since the hacker can monitor our traffic flow, there are possibilities that the hacker can modify the file and then send the modified file to this particular uh, to the destination user, right? So in that case, how do this guy know that the file that was sent here is the same file that I have received? Or there is one more example. When you download something from a web server, right? How do you know that, okay, you have downloaded the right file that was present in that particular web server, right? And it was not modified in between, right? So that is where the integrity comes into the picture, right? You can see integrity is nothing but ensuring the data was not changed when I received it. And some of the control sets that you can apply is mostly the marker or the checker, right? So what do you mean by that? It is nothing but uh, in computers. So if I take a example of when you receive a parcel, right? Let's say you have ordered something from the Amazon, and Amazon has sent you a courier to you. How do you know that, okay, it was not been modified in between, right? Somebody has not stolen something what is there inside the box, right? You know it because you will find the seal, right? So there would be some type of seal if the seal is broken, you will easily say that, okay, somebody has modified this, uh, or somebody has either stolen it or replaced it, or probably has viewed it, right? So that seal is something, in computer language, we call it as hashing, right? And we have multiple hashing algorithms for that. For example, I am using one of the tool, right? You do not have to use any tool. All operating systems by default, they can calculate the hash value of this particular file, and any system you take it, right, when they calculate, they will get the same hash value. Just to show you, I have downloaded a file. Okay, what do you mean by hash value, and what all value do you see it here? So let me delete this. Let me get the original file so that I can show you, if I do any modification to this original file, how the hash value will change. Let me add the file. Okay, so these are the hashing algorithms that you see it here, right? So there are multiple hashing algorithms. Let's take an example of MD5. And these hashing algorithms are irreversible, right? So they are basically a mathematical formula where uh, you can reach to the result, but from result you cannot get back, what was the original content, right? So that's why we call it as irreversible formula. So this hashing, this MD5 value that you see, right? So let me copy this value and keep it here, just to show you that, what is going to happen when I'm going to modify this file, right? So this is the original file, let's say. But when you downloaded it, right? So somebody modified it. Even if you add a single character, even if you add just a space, right? So you will see that the hash value will now change, right? So this will not be the same hash value. And that is how you know. Um, Let me remove this. Right? So now you see that, okay, the value is different here. Right? And this is how you know in the computer term, saying that, okay, uh, kind of a seal, right? So these hashing value ensure that if there is somebody is modifying the data, then the hash values will not match, right? So that is why you will see in some of the websites, whenever you're downloading certain files, and this is in most of the cases whenever you download an operating system, right? So you will see that along with that download file, they will also provide you these hash values, right? Why are they providing it? So that once the download is complete, right, you can match the hash values, what you have it here and what you see it here. If it matches, it simply means that, there is nobody in the middle who has modified or changed the data, right? It's the same data that you have received it, which, while we were downloading it from that particular site. So that is integrity. Okay, so the last one is availability. It is all about since you are into the security industry, you know that, okay, this is a confidential data. You cannot straightforwardly go to the business and say that, okay, no, this is very confidential, I'm not going to share it in the internet, right? So that is not the right way because security is just a provider, right? You cannot be a blocker. So that's where this is also one of the core principle, where it says that, okay, you will have to ensure that you work with the business, and you should ensure that, whatever business says, saying that, okay, that particular file must be available. So you should ensure the availability as well. So the other example would be something like, you should ensure that, okay, that particular web server, let's say our company website, right? So that website should be up and running all the time, right? And whatever control and measures the cybersecurity can take it, right? You should be taking it to ensure that website is available 24/7. Right? So that is also a core cybersecurity principle. And then this is what CIA stands for. Okay, the next part is entry vectors, right? So when I say entry vectors, it is all about from where all there are chances of getting a virus in your system, right? In your system, or in the server, or or in any of the, networking device that you have it in your organization. So one of the entry vector is web, right? And this is most commonly we do see that, right? When I say web, it is nothing but, probably one of the user, uh, you know he was accessing some of the rogue website, and through that rogue website, that user has downloaded a virus file, or we don't call it as virus. Generally, the generic term for this is malware, right? Because malware covers most of the types, right? For example, virus, worm. So there are multiple types of malware. So virus is just one type of malware. So malware is basically a common name, or the generic term, you can say. So let's say the user has downloaded a malware, and that malware is basically a virus, right? And probably, when you install that virus, it is giving a backdoor entry uh, to the hacker, right? So that might be one of the entry vector, right? Either it can be web, email, or some other medias, right? So in the web also, you have categorized as, you might get it through browser exploit. That means your browser has already been hacked, and the browser has the vulnerability through which the hacker was successfully able to deploy some virus inside your system, right? Or it can be DNS redirect, right? So what do you mean by that? So this is one of the phishing activity. When I do it, right, I'll show you how does this DNS redirect works, right? It is nothing but you are actually looking for example, a bank site, right? So citibank.com. Uh, you can see that in your browser, you have logged into the citibank.com, but actually because of this DNS redirect, right, you are not reaching out to the Citibank, rather you're reaching out to some other server, right? So the hacker server. And since you do not know, you cannot recognize it, because uh, by looking at the website, it might be looking same as how the Citibank has, and then you might type the username and password details and then give it away, right? So that is also, there are also chances by doing DNS redirect. Or malware hosting websites, right? You have landed into some website. uh, Either the website is legit, but the hacker has successfully hacked that website and then implemented some malware codes in it, or the website itself is not legit, right? So you were searching for something and then you landed into that particular website. It's that website itself is a malware website. And some of the examples would be, right, whenever you're searching for, let's say you want to do some shopping, shoe shopping, right? So when you search for that particular brand, so you will also see Google advertisements at the right hand side, or nowadays in the top pages, top search results, right? uh, I have seen that, sometimes the Google also, it's an advertisement, right? So anybody can advertise their sites, right? So how will Google figure out that whether this is a malicious site or a good site or a bad site? Although Google have some algorithm, but sometimes it is possible that, the hacker will be successfully able to give the advertisement, and at the top you will see that, okay, it's a fake website, right? Fake shopping website, right? So what if you click on that particular website? Okay, so the intention of that hacker might not be selling the products, right? So the intention would be something, once you click, some file will be downloaded to your system, and then probably the file will also get installed in your system, right? So that might be the intention, right? So that's what malware hosting websites are. Or direct access or removable media infected, uh, right? It is nothing but, the pen drive, right? So whenever you insert a pen drive, uh, you can also get a virus. Okay, next is the email entry vector, and email is also probably one of the most common attacks that we have seen, right? It is email, right? And if your email are not protected, then there are chances that, and it is very easy to send a malware attachment in your email, right? uh, the hacker can sit anywhere, and then they simply have to know your email address and then attach that malware file and then send it to you, right? So that is why the emails are, most common way of attacking, right? Either they can send an attachment, or they will embed a link, right, which is basically taking you to the malware website, right? So that is what phishing is. Phishing is all about, somehow they are going to gain your trust, so you click on that particular link and download certain files. Okay, or malicious attachments, or spoofing. Like spoofing is all about, you are pretending that you are so and so user, which which the to whoever is the victim, right? So you're pretending to the victim, saying that, okay, I'm your friend, and this is the link that I want to share it to you, and then why don't you access and see, how interesting this website is, something like that. And there might be also other methods like social engineering or rogue hacking. So social engineering is all about, interacting or kind of a human trust, right? You're gaining the trust first, and then you are figuring it out. How can I gain the trust, and how can I share this particular link so that the user will click on this link, and then probably give away the credentials or give away something else, right? Some information you're going to get it out from that particular employee through social engineering. Okay, basically gaining the confidence and gathering the confidential information. And rogue hacking is hackers trying to gain access of unauthorized systems. Right, so these are the three major entry vectors because of which either your system will get infected, or through your system your organization will get affected. So we'll have to, any type of control measures that we want to put it for these entry vectors first, and then we can think about others. Okay, and here are a few of the attack vectors, right? So stealing the credentials or unpatched software, right? Because of this, or your system might be impacted. Password issues, misconfigurations, and there are multiple other entry vectors. See, 0 days, right? So the 0 days, we know that, okay, this vulnerability was, I mean, the hacker already knew about this vulnerability, but the security analysts have just realized that, okay, this is also a possible way of hacking your systems, right? So that one, they will call it as 0 day vulnerabilities. Okay, there is one more thing that I wanted to discuss about: denial of service attack, right? So this is also quite interesting. So as the name suggests, right, denial of service attack is nothing but you are ensuring that, let's say there is a website, okay, so you're ensuring that that website should not be up, right? So let's say this website can only handle 100 packets, just an example, 100 packets per second, right? If somebody is sending 200 or 1000 packets per second, so this website cannot handle that many requests, and then probably the website, either the application might crash, or the web server might crash, right? And the intention of the hacker was to basically crash this website so that this website is not available for a certain period of time, right? And how the hacker is doing it? So basically sending lot of requests to this server, which is until a point where the server cannot process those many requests, right? So server might also be receiving some genuine request, right? And then we know that, okay, this server was designed just to handle 100 packets per second, but now this hacker will start sending or bombarding the request, right? Way beyond 100 packets. So that is when the server is going to get hang, or the application is going to get crash, right? So that is DOS attack. Now there is one more type of attack, right? DOS attack is quite easy to contain, right? I know that, okay, I'm going to, I see a lot of requests from this particular IP address. So we know that, all the servers will be sitting behind the firewall. And what is firewall? Firewall is an application, or an appliance where I can write a allow and deny rules, right? So in the firewall, I can see, okay, I get a lot of requests from this particular IP address. I can go and I can say, okay, just block this IP address, right? So DOS attacks are easy to contain, but there is another method to perform this same activity: DDoS attack, right? So let's say this is a server, you have a firewall in here. Okay, so in DDoS attack, the problem here is, let's say this is the hacker. Hacker has already hacked multiple systems, okay, in the world. Now what hacker will do is, hacker will dictate these systems saying, I want to perform DDoS attack. Okay, why don't you send certain request to this server? Then all of these servers, right? So they will start sending the request to this server. And now this is very difficult for, to contain. Why? Because in the firewall, you will see that, okay, there are multiple IPs who are requesting for certain access. Okay. And there you cannot figure out whether it is a genuine system which is asking for the request, or is it some bad system which is asking for the request, right? So it is very difficult to understand the traffic and then block it, right? So that is how DDoS attacks works. And DDoS attacks are, once your organization is attacked, right? So the only way to contain is, if you're not prepared, you cannot contain it. If you're prepared, only then you will be able to contain it, right? Otherwise, your entire system will be blocked for a certain. Uh, I mean, probably your entire organization might get impacted because of high traffic. Okay, so this is interesting phases of ethical hacking. So while I'm taking you through this, just give me a minute. I'll be back. Yeah, I'm back. So in this phases of hacking, right? So there are mostly six phases, right? So the first phase here you see is recognizance. So what does it mean? It means gathering the information. And you will always see that whether it is hacker or ethical hacker, so they will spend most of the time in gathering information, right? Because you don't want to straightforwardly go and start hacking some systems, right, in the organization. Um, because if you perform that activity, then we know that okay, there is a cybersecurity team who might be able to detect and then who might be able to contain, right? So we might not be able to successfully hack that system. So we want to basically gather more and more information before we actually perform any attacks, or even scanning the environment, right? So that is what recognizance is, right? Gathering the information. So what type of information we might gather? We might gather the information about number of employees, right, who are working for that organization, right? We might gather information about all the employee email addresses, right? Or we might gather about how many assets this particular organization have, right? Or what all servers this organization has exposed to the internet, right? So these are the information that we want to gather it, right, before even performing or going to the second step. So second step is all about scanning. Okay, so once I gather the information, the next step is all about, let me scan those server IP addresses that I have got it, and then let me see what all services those servers are running, right? So for example, let's say I have, let's take an example of Starbucks, right? So Starbucks, we know that, as a user, when I search in the Google, I will only see starbucks.com. But Starbucks does not have one single server, right? So they might be having multiple servers, right? So my first phase would be just to go identify how many servers they have exposed it to the internet, right? So once I am satisfied with, okay, these are the enough system that I have gathered it, then I will perform some type of scanning. Scanning is nothing but I will have a scan engine. I will perform a scan just to identify what all services this particular server is running, right? So I will scan all the servers just to find out what services they are running it and what services are exposed to the internet, right? And while scanning, we are also doing some vulnerability scans as well, right? So if let's say I have identified that okay, one of the server was running port 21, which is FTP, uh, file transfer protocol server, right? It is nothing but, what does FTP do? Anything upload and download you want to do it, right? You simply have to install this application, and through this application, I will have access to one single folder where I can upload and download stuff, right? So now let's say in scanning, I identified that okay, FTP is open, right? So what will be my next step? My next step would be, uh, in the scan tool itself, I will have certain vulnerability check, right? For example, I might implement one of the script where I want to see whether this FTP server, right? So are they using a default username and password details, right? Because in the scan itself, I will also be able to find out what version of FTP they are running it, right? Which model and what version, right? So I will be able to find out that, right? Along with that, once I find out, right, so I might write a script saying that okay, go see whether this default credentials are working or not. If it is working, then my tool will simply say that, okay, here is the username and password details for this particular FTP server, right? So these type of, very easy scans, or there are also sophisticated scans that the scan tool can perform, right? Basically, what I meant to say is scanning is all about identifying what services you're running, and are there any vulnerabilities detected for certain services. The third phase is gaining access, right? So when I say gaining access, uh, the example of FTP itself, right? So we know username and password or details of that particular FTP server, right? So obviously I can now gain access to that FTP server, right? I can see what is there inside that particular folder, right? So that would be the gaining access. Maintaining access is all about, okay, now I entered this server using the FTP server, right, which was port number 21, but I want to maintain access, right? So somehow I want to elevate my access, get the system access now, right? I'm not restricted towards FTP itself. I want to get a system access so that I can see everything that is there in the system, right? And I will try to also deploy a virus so that the virus can uh, give me some type of backdoor entry so that whenever I need, I can, access this server and then see whatever stuff this server has. So that is what maintaining access is. And number 5 is clearing tracks. So it is nothing but any changes that you do it on the system, right? Uh, all the informations are stored in the system logs, right? So you're basically deleting that log, that system log. That is what clearing track is. And finally, reporting, right? You are reporting to the this part is only for ethical hacker, right? All other stuff which the hacker will perform, the ethical hacker will report back to the management saying that, okay, this is the way how I was successfully able to hack this particular server, and you will have to and I will also have to provide some mitigation steps, right, where I will have to say, okay, how can you contain this. Okay, and this phases of hacking, what you see, right, in the actual course, I'll be taking you through how to perform all these activities. Okay, so this is something additional stuff that I want to add it here, right? So whenever you're performing a hacking, right, how do you hide yourself? We know that, we have something called as Tor, right, which ensures that, and what is Tor? Let's say this is the Tor client. Without, okay, let's say this is the client. Without the Tor, the client will directly go and access this destination, right? And in this destination server, since it is maintaining the logs, I can see, okay, who is the source trying to access me, right? And I can trace back to you. But when I use Tor, right? So what happens is Tor is kind of a proxy, right? So it will send the traffic to this proxy. This proxy will send it to this guy. This guy will send it to this guy. And finally, the destination will see the traffic that, okay, it was initiated from this guy, right? So in the logs, in the destination log, you will see, okay, so the requester was this guy. So the destination server will never be able to figure out who was the actual requester. And that is how you hide yourself, right? So there are two methods, right? Either you can use VPN, right? I can connect to a VPN server. Okay, I will use a tunnel. I'll connect to the VPN server. Through VPN server, I can access the destination. To protect more, what people will do, the hackers normally do is they will connect to the VPN server. Probably, they are sitting in US, but they are VPNing into the Russia server. And then from that VPN server, they might again use Tor services, right? So they don't want to expose themselves that, okay, they are coming from this particular server, right? So they will use Tor services so that it is little more difficult to find out who the original requester is, right? And this is how you hide yourself. Okay, phishing, right? So this is, you can say, out of um, okay, so if I say that, okay, what type of attacks do I normally see it in an organization, right? You will see that 90% of the time okay, it is phishing, right? Because it is quite easy to attack, right? And only 10% of time you will see there are other methods that people are using it to attack my organizations. But most of the time it is phishing. So that is why it is very much important for us to train all my employees uh, about phishing and how do you protect yourself from phishing. Because see, whatever tool I have, it does not matter, right? If the user is making a wrong click or accessing a wrong website, right? So then I have nothing to do, right? All my tools might fail, right? So I want to ensure that okay, the users are well aware about uh, how can you detect a phishing. Mostly the phishing happens through email, right? A phishing email, and how can you protect yourself from those type of phishing attacks, right? So I also wanted to show you some demo, right? So let me show you the demo. So I have a lab environment, right? So in the lab environment, I have this Kali Linux is my hacker server, and I have enabled basically this Windows 10 will be my victim server, right? So I'm going to perform some type of phishing server. It is nothing but, okay, let me show you. I will, my intention is to steal the credential of a Facebook user. Okay, and this is where my attacker is sitting, and my attacker is now listening on um, certain traffic, right? Now let me show you what is that certain traffic. Okay, through some medium, probably through an email, right? I would have shared a link to the user, right? And let's say, I want to hack or I want to steal the Facebook credential of the user, right? So what I'll do, we know that Facebook does send some type of emails, right? Saying that if you have been tagged, right? If somebody has mentioned you in a post, right? So the Facebook will send you those email communication to your email. And normally what do? You click on those emails to go see who has tagged, right? So now I will trick it in such a manner that okay, so I will keep the content, whatever the Facebook is sending is, right? So same content, but I will add my own link, right? So that way, what will happen is when you click on the link, let's say that okay, I have clicked this link. So what that link will do is it will basically take you to the it will open a web server, sorry, a browser, and then it will also input that link in the browser, right? And here you go, right? So this is the Facebook website that I see, right? But this is not the original Facebook web server. Why? Because I'm reaching out to this hacker system, right? So all my communication that I do it here, any username and password I type it here. Let's say test@gmail.com and some password. Any password I type it here, right? So that is been communicated to the hacker server, right? The hacker has got the username and password details, right? For the user might think, okay, something went wrong. Let me retype the username and password details. But this time you can see that, okay, it has actually taken to the original website, original facebook.com website, right? So the first time when you saw this page, okay, so this page was actually not the Facebook page. It was actually the hacker who has cloned the Facebook page, and you simply did not notice that. And then you have given away the username and password details. That is how hackers successfully gain access to certain accounts. Okay, so that is how the phishing activities are performed. Okay, some things that you should be bringing on before you joining this particular course, and all these techniques that I was showing you, right? So you are going to learn when we actually go through the course, right? So the concept that you want to bring into the table, right, before joining the course is you must have a good laptop, right? So all of these things I'm anyways going to teach, right? Yeah, two things actually: eager to learn, then a good configuration laptop. Why? Because I was showing you those labs stuff that we want to perform, right? We want to install multiple operating system so that we can perform some good labs, right? uh, because when I'm performing a hacking activity, I don't want to actually go and hack some random server, right? I want to ensure that, okay, I'm doing all those hacking activities within within my lab environment, right? So that is why you need, when I say good laptop is nothing but you can, the minimum RAM requirement is 16 GB, and i5 and i7 is also good enough, right? And eager to learn, right? So I'm going to teach you all the basics, right? So when we are going to start the course, I'll teach you what do you mean by network, how the computers talk to each other. Then we'll move on to operating system, right, where we'll be learning about the Windows operating system and Linux operating system, some basics about the operating system, and then we will move on to the hacking activities or hacking topics. Yeah, benefit of ethical hacking: you are going to learn, actually you will be learning about how a man in the middle attack is performed, how do you create a virus, right? And these are the methods that, how you ensure that, okay, user is going to download that virus, and virus itself is a rogue software. You will learn about how to perform DDoS attacks, then how do you steal the credentials, right? Or password attacks, even if you do not know the password, right? How are you going to brute force it? How are you going to guess the password, right? So that is what password attack is. You'll be learning about the phishing activities, right? And finally, you will also learn about how to create a virus, right? And many more, right? This is just an example that what all stuff you're going to learn about. And job market, you can simply go in and then see how many jobs are available for cybersecurity engineers, right? As I said, cybersecurity is the niche skill, and getting an engineer for cybersecurity is quite difficult, right? Okay, and this is the roadmap that we'll be covering you throughout the course, right? So introduction to ethical hacking and networking basics, then hacking concepts, creating viruses, and this is how do you hack the web servers, right? Through injection technique, and a little bit about firewall and honeypot. And next is understanding about Wi-Fi, mobile hacking, and IoT hacking. And the last part would be cryptography is all about understanding how does those encryption technology work. Yeah, that's all. If you guys have any doubt, you can ask me. You can unmute yourself and start asking.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
When I talked to a lady, and the lady or girl, I didn't remember her name, and she said this course will be 10 weeks. And then when we complete 10 weeks after, like the total is maybe 14 weeks, almost 4 months, 4 months, 2 weeks, something like that. But when I see here, it shows 6 week. But something is, I
Yeah, yeah. So
misunderstand or she.
earlier, no, that's correct. You're correct. I did not correct this slide. So earlier when we were taking it, right, it was just 6 weeks. So basically what we did is we have added a lot of labs, right? So the course is similar. It's just that we have added a lot of classes so that you guys also can do hands-on experience for doing the labs. So earlier it was all about me, taking you through the theoretical stuff as well as the practical stuff, where you didn't had any opportunity to do the hands-on lab while you're in the course, while you are in the class. But now we have included another 6 weeks so that you guys also can perform some labs.
To complete again, sorry, to complete this course, how many lab we have to, how many project we have to complete?
I would say that 60% is all about labs, right? 40% is theory.
Oh, okay. No, 60% is we have to work this project or labs, or no, you're gonna teach us.
I will be teaching you first, then I'll be asking you to perform certain labs, right? So I'll show you the basics, and then I will give you some questions saying that okay, either the first thing is you're going to perform same whatever I'm doing it, uh, and slowly we will increase the pace, and then I might ask you something which you will have to go figure out and then do the lab.
Okay. Again, one quick question. Is there any project we have to complete it? Like, for example, the real project for to we have to prepare for the job or the market. Is there any project?
I'm sorry, I did not get your question. What was your question?
For example, do we
Mhm.
have any project to complete it? For example, in ethical hacking, right? When we go to the
Yes,
job, on
yes,
our
yes.
job is to
You
do some project. Yeah.
correct. You do see basically here, what do you want to learn here, right? We want to learn how do you hack these systems, right? So we do have certain projects. You can simply go and ensure that you complete all those projects so that you are mentally prepared, saying that okay, I'm ready for the interviews, right? So you will be learning about different ways of hacking, right?
Mhm. Okay.
Any other question, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to teach us how to hack, how to watch different systems, understand the systems that we're watching to prepare us for jobs that are coming up. And the
Yes.
labs are what's going to prepare us to do the job because the labs are compatible to what we're going to be doing in the work field.
So in the workflow, I'll be taking you through the theory where you're going to understand, okay, what this technology is, and then we are going to hack that technology, right, through the labs.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first few weeks, right, I think first week or first 2 weeks, we will completely focusing on understanding the basics, right, where we will be learning about the networking skills, learning about the operating system skills, right? Once you are good at basics, then only we are going to move on to the actual hacking course.
Okay. And what nights a week will we meet?
Sorry, what week? I did
No, is
not hear
there
that.
certain nights that we'll meet, or is it a program? Like, is it, there are classes and courses. So will we meet with you certain days, like Tuesday, Thursday,
Y-
every
y-
week, or how does
Yeah,
that
it
work?
is 5 days a week, right? So
Okay.
we will. So it is actually. I mean, it all depends on you guys, right? So we have multiple trainers, right? So I'm available on from Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. EST. So let's say if you guys are not available at that particular time, you can talk to JanBask team, and then they will assign some other training for you guys, some other trainer.
Um,
Understood. So it's basically 5 days a week.
Five
How many
5 days.
hours
It
approximately?
is mostly 1.5 hour.
Okay. And then at your own pace is basically as soon as you can pick it up, the better you get at it, you can move forward onto different things. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Now, myself, I'm not a big IT guy. I'm kind of average when it comes to working. How much will that affect me as far as um, with the programs and things like that?
Um, See, even if you're not an IT guy, right? As I said, we are going to start from the basics, right? Earlier, when it was 6 weeks, right, I was not covering so much of basic stuff. Now, since I have a lot of time, so I'll be covering all the basics that you require to be a cybersecurity engineer.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Anyone else have any other questions? See, from my experience, I can say that, okay, so this is, I can say this is a evergreen uh, job market, right? The automation is going to kill all other, let's say if you're a coder, right? So now I see that, okay, AI can give some basics of coding, right? So, and then from there you can start your own architecture stuff. So AI can steal some of the coder job. AI can steal some of the infrastructure engineer job, right? So, but AI is going to give more jobs for cybersecurity. Right. So I have seen the people who were in the infrastructure side. So they are also moving into the cybersecurity because they see no future in infrastructure anymore because AI has taken their job or will take their job. Right now, AI has not taken anybody's job, but surely it is going to take their job.
Okay, thank you. Quick question. In this period of the course, what tools usually we can use it, like not in Linux? What about other tools we can use it?
We are going to use all the open source tools.
For example?
For example, the phishing activity that I did, there is a tool called as social engineering toolkit, right? Or when you create a virus, right? So we are going to use a tool called as Metasploitable, right? So similarly, we are going to, for example, when you're learning about networking, right? So we are going to use Packet Tracer to learn about networking, right? So all the open source tools that we are going to use here.
Oh, okay. Package tracer, for example, is the market is the for if we are getting a job, is the companies working these tools is also, or no, they are using other tools
No,
because that's the main focus. Yeah.
no, this particular course, right? We are not going to take you through any enterprise tools, right? So because this, as I said, this is kind of entry level knowledge that you should have when you want to go or look for a cybersecurity job, right? So for the entry level, do you think that any of the hackers will be using the enterprise tools? So they'll be using open source tools, right? So, or they will be designing their own tool. So that's where our focus is. Our focus is to learn about uh, what is the mindset of the hacker, right? But when we go to the organization, so organization will have some enterprise tools, and if you know the concepts, if you know the fundamentals, then using the organization tools or enterprise tools is not that difficult. So ultimate goal here is to learn about the fundamentals.
Sorry. When I talked to JanBask guy, whatever she or he, they said this course is professional course in high level. But when I talk to you, but you say that's a basic level, it's totally different. Which one I have to understand the focus? Like it's basic level or high level?
It is from basic to intermediate, you can say, not
Oh,
expert.
for and
Nobody is expert
but
in cybersecurity.
okay, but the JanBask people is saying so high level, basic to high level. It's okay.
No,
But
no, no.
we can,
When you say high level, right, then it is
yeah.
equal to, can you become architect in 10 weeks?
No, it's
Is
not.
it possible?
No, that's why it was my question, because when I talk to the JanBask people, they say it is short course and high level. That's why we do this one, this one, this one. When I came here and the webinar like tonight, but I'm here something else. But which one I have to believe? Those people to marketing or I don't know.
No,
So
see,
yeah,
no course can make you expert, right? Whichever course you take it, they cannot make you expert. They cannot teach you. Okay. I can only make you expert if you know the basics. Right here, you're struggling for the basics, right? So I'll have to take you through the basics. Then I'll have to take you up to a level where you are expert. You're not expert, but you know the concepts or fundamentals until the intermediary level, and from there onwards, it's all about reading the documentations. Right? You
Okay.
you are on your own. I'll take you up to that level.
Okay, and I don't know what was the other question. Like, when we complete this course, and do we get any what type of certification the JanBask will provide us?
The JanBask will
Is
provide you the course completion certificate, and
course
then
completion certificate. Okay.
yes, yes.
And then what? Sorry, you were trying to tell something. Then after.
Yeah. After that, if you need, you can go for the certification, right? The CS certification. But my recommendation is little different here, right? So I will recommend you to go through some of the enterprise courses, right? Where you have an add-on benefit saying that, okay, now I know the fundamentals, I know how does the hacker think about, and then now I also know what actually the industry uses, which tools the industry uses. Right, so that's just an add-on, right? If you want to learn, you can learn. Otherwise, you are still
No,
good enough to
we
attend the interviews.
no, we should be get some certification, because it's going to be, if I understand, it should going to be help us 80% chance to get an interview, right? But if we have certification, but if we don't have any certification, it's maybe 50-50. Is it correct?
Yeah. I mean, it all depends, right? It all depends. See, even if you have a certification, but you do not know the concepts, or you are failing in the interview, do you think that somebody is going to hire you? No, right?
Mm.
So the focus should be knowing the technology, right? And I'll give you the order. Basically, my order says that, right? As per my experience, you should first, once you complete the course, you should be uh, start revising the course. Then you should look for, when I say look for enterprise tools, right? So that is a free training that you can get it. So look for that free training, and then prepare for the interview. While you are preparing for the interview, if you see that, okay, lot many job postings says that, okay, this is the minimum criteria, you should have so and so certification, then only you can go for the certification. Certification is in my agenda, it's not the top priority.
For example, can you give
And
me
the
what?
course that we are learning, right? So we are
Mhm.
learning the ethical hacking, or the hacking course. No real hacker will have any certification, right? Still they are able to challenge the defense team, where the organization is investing millions of dollars in protecting their assets. Still the hackers are successfully able to hack the organizations. So do you think that
Okay,
those hackers have certifications?
I don't know. Some of them have, some of them not.
Yeah. Yeah. So in cybersecurity, right? So
Mhm.
when I hire a candidate, right, I'm up to a position where I hire the candidates, right? When I hire the candidates, I don't look for what certification they have, right? I straightforwardly ask them the technical questions, just to evaluate whether this guy understands about the fundamentals of cybersecurity or not. Right? I don't ask how do you implement so and so stuff. What is the command that you're going to use? Nobody's going to ask you that. The only question they're going to ask you is all about fundamentals. Is your fundamental clear? If it is clear, the cybersecurity is, the technologies that you see, right? Every day I see a new technology, right? And how can you be expert on all the technologies? You cannot, right? So the ultimate way of evaluating a candidate is to understand whether the candidate's fundamental is clear or not.
Okay. Uh, can can you give me, for example, a quick question about when we complete this course? You say we have to go looking for enterprise tools. Uh,
Mhm.
can you give me one example of the enterprise tools? One of
So
them, or two or three?
there are see, one of the thing, because this course is completely focused on on the pen testing side, right? So you will have to look for some vulnerability courses, right? So uh, there are multiple organizations who are into this vulnerability space, right? And they are vulnerability leaders. So you can go for those vendors, right? For example, Rapid7 is one of them. You can go for there is one more company, Qualys, and then there is the third company name is mm, the guys who have developed Nessus, right? So these are some very known vulnerability vendors or vulnerability scan vendors.
Oh, okay.
Question.
But
Mhm.
So I pretty much understand. Basically, you're going to give us the basics and the knowledge and the things that we need to know. And then once we have that knowledge, then we can go get the certificates because we're going to understand why we're going for the certificates and what the certificates are going to help us do in our job market.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the course? So when do we, well, how much is the course?
That you'll have to speak to JanBask team. See, I'm not full time for
Okay.
JanBask, right? I'm my full time job is working for the organization where I'm into the defense side, and for the JanBask, I'm just as a freelancer, working as a
Gotcha. Okay.
freelancer.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time. This was very interesting.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions?
no, there's not other question for me, but this course will start at the 31st or no, is next Monday.
That again, you'll have to speak to JanBask.
Oh,
I
we have
just
to
I just
see.
get assigned the students, right? I have no idea about what is the backend process of JanBask. So you'll have to speak to someone who is from JanBask or who is already coordinating with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.